Time enough. Yes. Hi, everyone. How do you do? My name is Scott Nance. And before we get started, full disclosure, the original Blade Runner, which came out on June 25th, 1982, is my single favorite movie of all time. It's true. That's why I'm so honored and pretty darn excited to be hosting today's special Facebook Live event here at IMAX headquarters in Los Angeles to debut for the very first time the brand new full trailer for one of the year's most anticipated movies, Blade Runner 2049. Who is excited? Well, I'm not in the business. I am the business. And that's why, before we get to the trailer, we're going to be joined by three very special guests who are together for the first time to talk about the movie and take your questions. So without further ado, here are the stars of Blade Runner 2049. Ryan Gosling, who plays Blade Runner Agent K. Reprising his role, his iconic role as Rick Deckard, Harrison Ford. Right there. And very, very excited to introduce the director of Blade Runner 2049, Denis Villeneuve. Okay, well, gentlemen, have a seat. And, just getting started here this morning, it's hard to believe that here we are, it's 2017, and we are just 2 years away from the time period established by the original Blade Runner, directed by Ridley Scott. And, when you look at that film, when you look at the style, the production design, the special effects, the score, the wardrobe, so much about it, cyberpunk, and how it's influenced so many other films and TV shows since then, like The Matrix, Minority Report, Children of Men. And nowhere better will that influence really be felt than when Blade Runner 2049 opens on October 6th in IMAX and in theaters around the country. So the first question I have for each of you really is, when you look at the connection between media, technology, robotics, artificial intelligence, what's your take on the way that Blade Runner, the original film, was so far ahead of its time, and the way that time really caught up with the movie? Ryan, let's start with you.
You didn't prepare?
Yes or no, Ryan?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Well, we haven't worked out the flying car thing yet, so that's disappointing.
We're still getting there. We're working towards it.
Right. But I'm being nicer to my electronics just in case. What was the question?
About the way that the technology and media, it's like overwhelming the way everything has sort of connected. And what are your thoughts on the way that Blade Runner and today really connect with those themes?
Harrison?
Yes. No, I think it's fascinating that that the original film postulated a technology which, in many ways we've surpassed, and in other ways we're not quite there. And this film does extend, takes into account the 30 years that have passed and references technologies that actually are in place now, and also, to me, which is a little bit more interesting, acknowledges and deals with some of the ethical considerations that technology presents us with. There's no such thing as a free lunch, and we're really talking about both the benefit of technology and the social consequences of it in a way that I think is really interesting.
Denis, how about you?
Me, I will just say that in 2049, in 2049, there was like, for some reason, society lost its memory. The society lost its memory, and it's not in relationship with history anymore in some ways, and that is something that is kind of frightening with our world today. I think that it's something that is relevant with what is happening in the world today. That's what I want to say.
Well, we're taking questions.
I prepared.
English is not his first language.
Okay, now they've sort of picked up the slack. Could you want to chime in on just sort of pick up on what they were talking about with regards to the technology and how certain things we are there, certain things we're not, but the first film was so prophetic, especially like your take on it when you first saw it for the first time.
Well, I saw it, I think, probably 10 years after it came out. So when I first saw it, I think I was just really struck by how influential it had been on everything I had seen up until that point. But it was also, because I was young, I think it was one of the first films that I'd seen that it wasn't clear how I was supposed to feel when it was over.
Yep.
It made me question, what it meant to be a human being. It made me question my ability to recognize the hero from the villain. It was this nightmarish vision of the future, but sort of presented in this romantic, dreamlike way. So it was very haunting, and really probably one of the first films where I really wondered what happened after it was over. What happened to that world, and those characters. So to have the opportunity to really actually physically enter that world and be a part of it and learn the answers to those questions was a wonderful opportunity.
Well, we got some questions submitted from our friends around the world and media around the world. First one is from our friends at IO9. First question is for you, Harrison, is that, whereas you revisited Indiana Jones, you revisited Han Solo, but what was the most interesting thing for you about revisiting the character of Rick Deckard for the second time?
Well, I think the character is woven into the story in a way that intrigued me. There's a very strong emotional context, and the relationship between the character Deckard that I play and other characters I found fascinating. I think it's interesting to develop a character after a period of time, to revisit a character. It was a very interesting experience working with Denis, working with Ryan, and the other people involved in the film. It was a very gratifying experience. I really had a good time.
Well, in terms of our friend Jean-Philippe from Belgium had the question for Ryan about the first time you saw the movie and what kind of an impact it had on you. But I just wanted to you've already answered that, so I wanted to talk more about working on this movie, seeing the sets, being in that world 30 years later, but it's still that world. And of all the films that you've done, what was it about working on this one that really just made you go, wow, this is really, really special?
Well, again, because it had such, so much of the world and its influence had sort of seeped into my subconscious as a kid, because it was influencing so much of what I was listening to and watching. So, to be a part of that anyway was surreal. But then to get to set and realize that they had, these sets were fully functioning worlds that you could inhabit, things, the props worked. You know, there was very little imagining that had to be done. I think we saw a green screen.
A lot of practical effects and sets.
Yeah, so it really was, you know, you were just completely immersed in this universe that you had grown up watching and imagining. So it was very impressive, overwhelming. I think the trick for me was just to not be impressed by it on camera.
Right.
Because, you know, it was supposed to be my everyday reality as though I'd known nothing else. But, of course, I've never worked in this way on that scale. Or, so it was pretty overwhelming. But yeah, it was really, yeah, great.
But Harrison, you know, the first time you walked on the set of Blade Runner 2049 and you were back in that world for the first time since you filmed the original movie back, well, technically in '81. What was it like to be back in that world, not just playing the character, but the production design, the look of the film, the cyberpunk, all of that?
Yeah, the first time I walked on the set, it was the day before I was supposed to work. And it was a very elaborate set, very big set, very sophisticated set. It was raining. It made me feel welcome. Ryan was working with a naked woman, and that made me a little sad. But she was a holographic projection, which made me happy again. So it was really cool. And yeah, I just said it. It was really cool.
You did say that.
I did.
It is cool.
Yeah, it was because it was written down there. I felt excited, happy to be involved in this project.
Well, next question is from Jeffrey at 411 Mania. This one is for Denis. Hi, Jeffrey. So, Denis, this question is a good one because I know that you're a fan of the original film, a big one. So, let's say you had a time machine and could go back in time to the moment when your younger self saw Blade Runner for the first time, and you could tell your younger self, hey, young Denis, you're going to direct a sequel to this movie one of these days. How would your younger self have reacted to that?
I think I will have insulted myself, saying this is not funny. Yeah, I think that honestly, at the time, I was like quite arrogant, and it was a big dream to do sci-fi, my biggest dream, and but I think I will have laugh out loud and then insult myself.
Oh, memories. You're talking about memories. So the next question is from Steve Weintraub at Collider, and this is for each of you. Like, whenever you make a film, there are certain things that will stick out for you, whether it's a day on the set, maybe when you see the movie for the first time at an early screening, dailies. But what are some of the special moments, or a special moment, Ryan, let's start with you, that you'll treasure from the making of Blade Runner 2049? Too many.
Yeah, I think it was, really just when I first arrived and, I realized just the scale at which, they were working at, the level of detail, the level of craftsmanship that was, at play in every level, from Roger Deakins to, just Denis, Harrison. It was just the level of craftsmanship was really unparalleled in my experience, and it was just so fully realized, and I think that was overwhelming, but really kind of memorable moment.
How about you, Harrison?
I think for me, really, I remember the scene a scene that I did with Ryan. towards the beginning of our meeting with each other, and it was a scene about the history that transpired between the last time you saw the character and how you see him now, and the reference between the two characters, and it was unexpectedly deep in a way that emotionally deep and really rich kind of recipe that I had, was really excited about. Working with him was really, it was the first scene we had together that was complex and sort of out there. Yeah. And I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed the way Denny managed the scene and both of us, and especially the way he sucked up to me. I thought that was really fantastic.
I didn't get it. I didn't understood.
What was really special for you, Denis? Because I mean, obviously, because this is the movie means a lot to you, but it's also
it's very difficult to answer to this question sincerely, because in most of the movies I've done before, there's always 2 or 3 moments that you can refer to that are specific scenes with their specific challenges. But on this one, the scale, I mean, the amount of scenes that were big challenges for me from a directing point of view, and I will say that it's every day at his own moments. Sincerely, I can't point my finger on something specific. Every day it was a journey, a very impressive journey for me, and every day was had something that I will remember vividly, sincerely. Yeah.
Well, one of the things about the original film is the question it poses about what does it mean to be human. You said that at the beginning. And so many great films, and especially TV shows, have really touched on that in the years since. Look at the reimagined Battlestar Galactica. Look recently on Westworld. And that was something that just the original film did so well. What does it mean to be human? The replicants have a 4-year lifespan, but they are human, especially when Batty saves Deckard's life at the end of the film. Spoiler alert. But how does Blade Runner 2049 not only address these issues, but also evolve the question to go deeper than the original film did? Ryan.
There's a sniper up there in the rafters. If I answer that question, that's it for me. So I'll pass that down to Denis, because I feel like he's...
No, but I will say, the thing that I can say is that I think we are still exploring the themes of memories and empathy. That's still part of the let's say the deeper tissue of where the movie evolves, what the movie is about, in relationship with what does it mean to be human. That I'm allowed to. I'm still alive, so it means I was allowed.
Well, another question from our fan base. This one is for Harrison. This movie does take place 30 years after the original film. So I wonder if you could talk about, both Harrison and Ryan, about working together to evolve the character of Deckard and establish the character of Kay. Talk about the collaboration you did to develop your relationship.
I talked about that when I was, though I have nothing more to say. I enjoyed working with him. I thought, the part of the thematic that really is the responsibility of his character was really original, and Ryan brings a real
that thing, he brings a real,
just wait for it. he has an original intelligence, emotional intelligence about these things, and it was really a pleasure for me to work with him. I never knew what I was going to get, which is a good thing, because your instinct goes towards what you've seen, what you have an expectation of, and it was always pleasure to weave our stuff together. I really did enjoy that.
It was Denis, when we first started shooting, he would sometimes remind me when we were shooting a scene, he'd say, let's just imagine that Harrison's sitting in the corner watching this, would he be happy or not?
Oh.
And it was, and most of the time in my imagination, he was just sitting in the corner like. So I wasn't quite sure in my mind what he thought, and then when he finally arrived, it was such a relief because, he just rolled up his sleeves and got right to work, and we immediately I think Denis even broke the crew or something, and we all just sat around at a table pretty soon after he arrived and just started working together, and it was such a relief, and he was such a wonderful partner, and he was so gracious with us, and such a great partner that it really felt like the movie, finally, began.
Well, this next question is from Filippo in Italy, and this is for Denis. Working with the great cinematographer Roger Deakins, when you look at the original film, the cinematography on the original film is sensational. When you have the scene where Deckard meets Rachel for the first time, the cinematography in that scene is fantastic. When Deckard goes to the Bradbury to hunt down Pris and Batty, the cinematography in that scene is breathtaking. So, Denis, you've worked with Denis, with Roger, but how will his work on this film really knock our socks off this time?
The thing is that it's always a privilege to work with Roger Deakins. What I could say is that this time, Roger is always focusing, of course, on the logic of light and naturalism, but this time, and that's a kind of expression Roger would hate, but he went wild. Okay, the thing is that he was allowed to go more in an impressionistic way. He was, because of the nature of the project, I was allowed to do things that I think was not daring to do in the past. And honestly, I can tell you right now that it's going to be it is now one of his most stunning work, and I'm very proud of what Roger did on 2049. Yeah.
I just want to add that for me, it was like seeing the play of light in the scenes, or the way a scene was lit, was like having a soundtrack. It was like music in a way. Very, very exciting to be part of.
Well, on behalf of everyone, I can say you've done a man's job, sirs, and I guess you're through. So thank you so much for this great Q&A. Thank you so much for being here in this special event. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you're just as excited as I am to see Blade Runner 2049 in theaters and in IMAX on October 6, 2017. So without further ado, feast your eyes. I just do eyes. Feast your eyes on the brand new full trailer for Blade Runner 2049. Enjoy, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Every civilization was built off the back of a disposable workforce. But I can only make so many. Happy birthday.
an order to things. That's what we do here. We keep order. The world is built on a wall that separates kind. Tell either side there's no wall, you bought a war.
You're a cop. I had your job once. I was good at it.
I know.
What do you want?
I want to ask you some questions.
The key to the future is finally unearthed. Bring it to me.
They know you're here.
I always told you, you're special. Your story isn't over yet. There's still a page left.